let's go to Victor. Hello, Victor.
Hey Bart.
How you doing?
Doing pretty good, pretty good. So we have a 2-5 hand at Rivers Displays.
Did you call in 2 weeks ago?
It was last week with the
Oh,
flush over flush hand.
oh, that's right. That's right. Oh, yeah, that's right. Because you emailed in two interesting hands, and
Yep.
and again, guys, we read them all, so we always try to pick the best ones. And that one went up today, actually. I think the flush over flush went up today,
Yeah, yeah,
an
I
hour
saw that.
before the show. So River Des Plaines, which is the new casino in Illinois, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So we're nine-handed, full ring. So I'm under the gun one with black aces, and I opened it up to $20.
How deep? What's the effective stacks here?
I'm 1.4K effective with the main villain.
And what's the buying cap in this game again? It's 1,000.
Yeah, 1,000 cap.
All right. So hero under the gun with black aces.
Under the gun one, but
Under the
not
gun.
not.
Okay. Under the gun one, nine-handed. Okay. Yeah. Ace. Fair enough. Ace of clubs, ace of spades. Okay. And you go to 20,
Yep.
which is probably
So
standard, right?
yep.
Okay.
Pretty standard.
Yep.
So three players in position call. Low jack, cutoff, and button.
So low
They all
jack,
come,
cutoff, and button call. No blinds.
and the big blind completes.
And the big blind calls. All right. So 5 ways. Here we go to navigate aces 5 ways. Before you even tell me the flop, another sort of small stakes exploit, and this is for really, really small stakes. And it's really important is I always talk about how the smaller stakes you play, the less regard for the board you should have in betting over pairs. You should be betting a higher frequency and volume of boards that are not good for your hand. And the reason why that is the case is because people call far too much and they are playing off their own hand, not the board. But as you move up and you play against tougher players, they will absolutely eat you alive if you do that. But up to 2-5 at displays, I wouldn't be too worried about betting 5-7-9 two flush with aces into 4 people, personally.
Yep. And we probably get the best board for aces without flopping a set. It's 3-3 deuce rainbow.
So 3-3 deuce rainbow.
Red threes and the two of clubs.
Okay, so 3 of hearts, 3 of diamonds, deuce of clubs. By the way, if there's ever, right, 3 of hearts, 3 of diamonds, deuce of clubs, whenever another sort of just shortcut with hand reading, if you ever were to have some sort of heat put on you on a board like this where someone was representing a 3, and then, most likely the only 3 that's V-pipped except out of the big blind is going to be ace 3 suited, and you have aces, you just look at the suits of your aces and see how many are possible. You have black aces. There are red 3s on the board, which means there are no ace 3 suiteds left, right?
Yep.
So
But yeah, I wouldn't put it past anyone in this game to be calling pre-flop with,
ace 3
offsuit.
off.
Right.
Okay. Okay.
All right. So the hand gets weird right away. The big blind donks out for $60.
Jesus. And how deep is that guy?
I'm the effective stack.
So-
He's the main villain
So
at
okay,
1.4.
so big blind donks for 60. Okay.
So I call.
Yeah, that's really interesting here. So obviously aces doesn't need a whole lot of protection. I'm not going to get on you for calling. I think it's a relatively standard sort of play. What I would say here is, yeah, I can get on board with that. I think heads up, I actually like raise a lot here too, and not that much, just because I think this is a lot of sort of like small overpairs, sort of figuring out where they're at. With that being said, there is no flush draw out there, so it is a little bit bizarre, but absolutely, absolutely, at the smaller stakes, you can get away with raising overpairs for value in given scenarios. So big blind donks for 60, hero calls, okay.
And just a little bit of history. The big blind is definitely a very capable lag. There's been straddled pots. He's been opening middle to late position with hands like 10-4 suited, Jack 7 suited.
By the way, Ari makes a good comment that if there's one person that can have a 3, it's the big blind. That's a good point. Obviously, closing the action. You know how a lot of guys will play like almost any 2 suited cards in this spot, right? Getting a quote-unquote price. But with that being said, how often are they going to lead out into the pre-flop raiser who's next to act? Just something to be said. Did everybody fold behind you?
Yeah, everyone else folded.
Okay. All fold.
So
Okay.
220 in the pot.
220. Okay.
So the turn is 8 of diamonds.
8 of diamonds, bringing a backdoor diamond draw for the podcast people. It's 3 of hearts, 3 of diamonds, deuce of clubs, 8 of diamonds, and hero has black aces.
Yep. So he continues. He bets 115.
So big blind bets 115. People yelling in the live chat, 4-5, 4-5. The guy's got 4-5. One of the things too, I mean, you have 2 of the aces in your hand. One of the things I don't see all that much is a donk lead here with like ace 4, ace 5, all that much here. Yeah, 4-5. I mean, 4-5 is definitely possible. It is a little bit strange for this guy to continue to bet here when you call next act. Remember, positional awareness is one of the easiest things when it comes to hand reading. It's not rocket science. I never took like a logic class. I think I took some stupid conditional logic philosophy for like liberal arts majors at Syracuse where I went. But poker is a lot of logic in the sense, logic problems like what if. I think that's called conditional probability or conditional logic, things like that. It's a lot of what if types of things. And it's like, okay, well, lead and then call from the preflop raiser next to act. So you have that statement and then it's like, what if, and then what does this lead to? And it's different when the preflop raiser is next to act calling with a bunch of people behind them than if the preflop raiser was closing the action on the button where people folded in between and the button, maybe you called with ace king, you thought the guy was full of shit or something like that, or you'd see free cards. Here you're calling next to act. You can't really call with ace king, right? If you had ace king, you can't call the lead, right? With a bunch of people behind you on the flop.
I mean, maybe at a low frequency, but yeah, I mean,
with a low
time,
jack cutoff and button behind you.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the majority of the time I'm folding for sure.
So I mean, your call next to act should be much stronger. Now, once in a while, you're going to get, if my range sort of analysis is correct in the fact that he's donking out, sort of midish overpair. Once in a while, you're going to get boated up here, like with the 8 or something like that. But I mean, at this point, I probably would just call, and you just hope that it gets checked, and then you kind of blast away, which is kind of funny because I don't know if you have any bluffs, but I don't know if it matters,
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and I just choose to call.
Okay, so hero calls. I just think that raising here is just kind of like, I don't know. It just seems to me that the guy isn't all that strong based upon the line. So.
Yeah, and he's a good player too. So
Really, he's a good player.
Yeah, he's a good player. Like I said, definitely on the loose side though, loose aggressive. He doesn't play professionally, but he's playing recreationally, but also to win. For what it's worth, like he said when he goes to Texas, he plays 5-10 there.
When you say loose aggressive, do you think he plays over 35% of his hands?
Probably.
I mean, I'm shaking my head here because I've said this before. Like, if you're playing in a 9-handed game, there is no full ring lag that's a winning good player. Even Garrett, when you talk about like somebody who, he doesn't play like a nit. He still isn't playing much over 30% in a real full ring game. Like, people don't realize a lot of those Friday games are shorthanded. But if you stick him, he used to. I remember. I don't know if it was Live at the Bike or Hustler Casino Live. Like, he had been in some of those ante games, those wild ante games back in the day, and he was playing like what you were supposed to do. You know what I mean? 9-handed. It was just crazy. But anyway, so the pot now is 450, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So the river is deuce. It's the black deuce. It's a deuce of spades.
Oh, wow. So, I mean, the other thing, too, where a good player who might fast play that would make sense besides having, a 3 here would be like deuces full. Of course, now you go from 3 combos of deuces full down to 1 combo of quads, right?
Right.
Yeah. So
then he bets out 700.
So 700 and a 450?
Yep.
And leaving you with like, I guess leaving you with like 500 or something?
Right, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like the theory here is this is just when you say the guy's loose aggressive, it's got to mean that there has to be some weird bluffs here. I mean, it's pretty obvious that you have an overpair here, I would think, right?
Yeah, yeah. Especially when I call the turn, I 100%
It
only have over pairs.
it's really, really hard for me to deviate so far down, even to a 2x pot size bet here with aces. It's really, really hard for me to deviate when just casually you kind of call the guy a lack. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I'm sorry. I mean, if the guy's got a three, if he hit eights full, or if he hit, quad deuces, he's going to get my money. I think he's going to get my money. I just find it impossible here to fold.
So then, in terms of like relative hand strength, are you just calling, any pair basically? Like nines through aces, sevens, maybe some sixes.
Well,
are you just calling everything there?
I mean, it's nice to be able to call down linearly. I think also too you have some nice blocking properties too, and the fact that you have two aces. I mean, obviously he's closing the action, right? He's closing the action in the sense that I don't know how often he's going to play a deuce this way, a single deuce, but if he's always v-pipping ace three and you have two of the aces, you've got nice blocking properties here too, right? I mean, it's just one of these things where, yeah, you kind of call down linearly. Is there a difference between having like tens, jacks, queens, or kings here? Probably not. But I mean, if you wanted to like choose certain hands to call with, for frequency, you just call down with the better hands. It's very easy to do,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I did call down.
Okay.
He mucked, but I did talk to him later. He said he had 5-6.
I mean, good call, right? I mean, I was almost, I don't know what the answer was. I was almost half expecting him to be boated up here. But I mean, this is just another one of these things where if he's ever going to show up like this, I mean, I think you have to call. That's a kind of question. Like, I kind of question the whole moniker of this guy being a good lag, because even if somebody did play too many hands, I mean, I do remember some guys that played too many hands that were recreational that were still winners at Commerce when I used to play there day in, day out. But even though they would give a bunch away by playing super splashy pre, they were still pretty decent for recreational players post. And I think this is a fairly large spew by this guy on this run out, given your action. Again, based upon what I said, you're calling next to act, you're calling on the turn. He's got to be able to shut it down sometimes.
Right.
So, anyways,
ended up working out for him because he got paid for the rest of the session. But yeah, I kind of agree with you.
All right, thank you very much for the call. Appreciate it.
Yep, thanks.